Hello. Well, Anjem Choudhury's got himself into trouble again for weighing in on the murder of Sir David Amess, the Member of Parliament who was killed by by a Muslim, born in Britain, but he is of Somali parentage. His father actually was some sort of a government minister in Somalia. So you wonder why he's living here rather than in Somalia. I mean, he would have been part of the high society of Somalia, but no, and he probably lived here because this is a nicer place. But that's beside the point. Now, just to refresh your memory about Mr. Choudhury, it says here, this is from October 2021 in the Sun newspaper. Hate preacher Anjem Choudhury gets job and finally stops claiming £73 a week benefits he dubbed jihad seekers allowance. I just want to remind you that nowadays it's considered not nice to say you're getting the dole or you're getting unemployment benefit. No, 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 no. You are more, you're not a skiver, you see, you are on a job seeker's allowance. That means you're looking for a job. You just don't happen to be able to find one at the time. So you're being given some help by the government. And in many cases, that is actually the case. I'm not too sure it was the case for Mr. Choudhury, at least at the beginning, although he does come up with some good excuses in this article. The cleric is looking after a charity's account after more than 3 years of looking for employment. Now, this is quite a nice, well-groomed photograph of him, but I'm going to show you a picture of him when he's actually moving his face, and you'll see a slightly different type of person. The 54-year-old says he's looking forward to keeping busy. Before he was sent to prison for supporting Islamic State, it was revealed he and his wife were raking in £25,000 a year in benefits for them and their 4 children. And this goes back to 2013. And when he was released in 2018, he began claiming just under £300 a month, meaning he's been handed more than £14,000 since then alone. Now, there are pensioners who are living on pennies, so a lot of people are quite annoyed about this. Overall, he's been given at least £89,000 from the taxpayer. Yeah. Talking to The Sun just 2 months after his gagging order ended, Choudhury said, "You can imagine in the last 3 years it's been extremely difficult to find a job." Now, I don't know when his gagging order ended, but I'm assuming since this article is from 13th of October, so the gagging order must have ended in August. And he just can't keep his mouth shut, because the next article I'm going to show you in the Daily Mail shows he's just gone back to his old ways. 89,000, yeah, it's been difficult to find a job. Yeah, well, would you employ him? Not only did I have about 30 conditions attached to me by the police, probably jobs, like not around sharp implements and heavy vehicles, and the Home Office, I was also subjected to a financial freezing order. I don't know what that means. It may have capped how much he can earn. I don't know. Either the police rejected it or the jobs were judged unsuitable for people with previous convictions. Yeah, no nursery teaching for him. It was such a long process to get the Home Office to approve any employment. Luckily, I've now found a full-time job. It's linked to a charity and the position is a bookkeeping role working from home. If I were going to give the Home Office any advice, I would suggest that they keep a steady eye on that charity. well, I'm not going to say any more. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's an opportunity to do more. The ISIS supporting preacher who lives in East London took handouts from the state while speaking of his hatred for Britain. Yep. In 2013, he was secretly filmed mocking non-Muslims for working in 9-to-5 jobs and told followers, well, hang on, he says that Islamic figures only ever work 1 or 2 days a year. The rest of the year, they were busy with jihad and things like that. And then he says the normal situation is for you to take money from the kuffar. That's me, people like me. So we take jihad seekers allowance. Yeah, that's his take on the job seekers allowance. Ridiculing hardworking Brits, he said, you find people are busy working the whole of their life. They wake up at 7, they go to work at 9, they work for 8-9 hours a day, they come home at 7, watch EastEnders, the soap opera, sleep, and they do that for 40 years of their life. That's called slavery. Yeah, and it's not slavery. It's living an honest life and earning an honest living. But this was one of the problems. Oh, the last time, I'm not going to be able to monetize this again. I mean, this is one of the problems with Islam, because when Muhammad had his followers and they became Muslims, did he tell them to, open shops or start a farm or something? No, he told them just go and raid other people and extort money from them. That's more or less what Choudhury was exemplifying in his form of existence. Right, so that was the article about Choudhury in The Sun. And then, so this is 2 months from the end of his gagging order, and poor David Amess gets murdered by a Muslim, and the first thing Anjem Choudhury spouts off about is that he was killed for being pro-Israel or for being a Tory party member. It didn't matter which. Now, I want to point out that one very highly placed Labour Party spokeswoman talked about the Tories as scum. So, I mean, what do you do with scum? Yeah, it has no use at all. You get rid of it, you wash it down the sink, you scrub it out, you eliminate it. That's from the Labour Party. And one of my recent videos, I played a clip from John McDonnell, who I called him Andy McDonnell, I think, and I don't know why. I have trouble with names. I always did have. John McDonnell from 2013, strangely enough, in which he was talking about not letting a Tory walk peacefully in the street without harassing. And he said he used direct action. Well, there's no more direct action than stabbing somebody, is there? So the Labour Party are calling for this. So in that, they are at one with somebody like Choudhury. The only difference is that I think Choudhury means what he's talking about in the way of direct action, whereas McDonnell is being, what's her name, who talked about Tory scum? Her name's gone now. They were talking about this in a sort of student politics type way, which isn't quite the same thing. Anyway, he says he was trained as a lawyer, I believe, so he's very careful about his wording here. He says there are rumours that Sir David Amess is pro-Israel, as if this had anything to do with, a political disagreement, with killing somebody. This is a political disagreement, not a cause for murder. Speaking from his council home in Ilford, the 54-year-old said, I am not sure about this particular MP's views. The rumours are that he's pro-Israel and he is part of the Conservative Party, and they've been in power a long time, especially during the campaigns in Muslim countries such as Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan. Oh yeah, it says here he's a trained lawyer. He says he does not condone the killing of anyone, let alone an MP in Britain. I would venture to say that if you say somebody was killed because they're pro-Israel or because they're Tories, then you are condoning their killing, because you're saying there's a reasonable explanation for it. Now, I just want to show you this photograph of Mr. Choudhury orating. And I know this sounds superficial, but I am a believer that when somebody starts moving their face, you can see their soul. And this photo from the Sun, which shows Choudhury, all nicely groomed and everything, ready for his job, it's not a particularly nice face, but it's not actually ugly. But his face is still there. Here, his face is moving, and it is an ugly face. It's full of ugliness. And you look at the photo of Amess underneath him, there's a difference. And I'm not saying that Choudhury is ugly because he is of a different ethnic type to Amess. So just don't get that idea. That's an ugly person. He has an ugly soul. I'm sorry, that's what I see in that picture. And I know people are going to say, well, you can always take an unflattering picture of anybody and freeze it and stop it there. But he has an ugly face. He really does. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.